this evening. We are very, very excited. I'm very excited to be able to introduce everyone to our behavioral neuroscience program at Northeastern. It is one of our most popular majors, so you have a great taste and major selection if you're here with us this evening. And I promise you that not only do we have our director of the program here, who is a faculty member and heading up the efforts for behavioral neuroscience, but we have 4 of our wonderful current students from the program as well that will tell you all about their experiences as well. Okay, so just to do some housekeeping here. If you have questions at any point in time during this next hour, please do submit them in the Q&A box that you see on the bottom of your screen. We will get to as many as possible throughout the presentation today. And then also, if you have any specific questions that are coming in, please just put the name of who you would like to ask on there as well, and we can do that. Likewise, I will be adding in any additional information into the main chat feature. So if there are websites that need to be added, whatnot, I will be adding those throughout the presentation. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Njemi. Good evening, how are you doing?
Good evening, Lauren. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. And I want to welcome everybody. We're so excited that you could join us to hear all about the amazing things that we're doing with our program. So I do have a brief presentation that I want to give to you guys so we can hear the sort of the breadth of what's going on in neuroscience here at Northeastern and some logistics about the program, and then I will turn it over to the students because I'm sure that's who you really want to hear from, to hear about their experiences and all the great things that they've accomplished. So I'm going to get started by sharing my screen. All right, so everyone should see my screen. And so as Lauren said, I'm Jennifer Njemi, and I'm the director of the Behavioral Neuroscience Program. I also teach several courses in the program and act as a faculty advisor. So I certainly wear many hats here at Northeastern. And so what I'm going to do is give you a glimpse of what our program has to offer, and we're going to think about get some important insights on the program from our panelists of our current students, and I'll let them introduce themselves at the end. Behavioral neuroscience is a major that focuses on the biological basis of behavior. So we're really interested in how the biology of the brain works to govern how animals and humans behave, both in sort of normal states as well as in pathological states. So at Northeastern, behavioral neuroscience is a rigorous academic program. We're an interdisciplinary program of study, which bridges the biology and the psychology departments. And what I think you'll find is that that our program really does a lot for giving you a really great breadth of experience in behavioral neuroscience. So our program has a more diverse and greater number of upper level specialty courses than any other neuroscience program. We continuously work to add more courses that delve into like new and exciting topics within the broader field of neuroscience. For example, I was actually recruited here 6 years ago to develop and teach courses in cell and molecular neuroscience and behavioral genetics, which are 2 really burgeoning areas of neuroscience. And so we're constantly doing that, trying to think about, what are the exciting new things and where can we add coursework. Our curriculum also incorporates classroom and laboratory coursework in a diverse area of science disciplines, including chemistry and math, physics, and data science, to give you a really solid background in science. Whoops. To give you a really solid background in science. And additionally, while our program is really rigorous, we have a lot of things in place to actually help you succeed, to make sure that you are achieving your best while you're here, including a really robust tutoring program and advising. Right. One of the things additionally that we've been doing over the past 2 years is developing a combined majors with behavioral neuroscience. So Northeastern's combined majors are a unique blended program designed to allow you to explore multiple fields within one integrated sort of academic plan. We have 4 combined majors with behavioral neuroscience. We have behavioral neuroscience and philosophy, which integrates this field of biology, psychology, and philosophy. We have behavioral neuroscience and design, which integrates the fields of biology, psychology, and art and design. And we also have combined majors with data science as well as computer science, which again combines biology, psychology, and data and computer science. And so I think, these are all really exciting new areas in which we can apply neuroscience principles to concepts that are really outside of the College of Science. From a recent analysis of our graduates, you can actually see that our program has grown tremendously over the years. We started in 2011, we had less than 40 graduates. And this year in 2021, we have 143 graduates. So our program has shown tremendous growth over the last 10 years. One of the strengths of of Northeastern, I'm sure you're all aware, is the 100-year-old co-op program where students go into the workforce for 6 months. And I think that's probably one of the most exciting reasons to come to Northeastern, right? You don't just get an education while you're here, you actually get to experience it. So on the in this little inset graph, what we're looking at is about how many co-ops our students have done. And as you can see, on average, about 50% of our students follow a 4-year 2 co-op pattern of attendance. So the majority of our students do at least 2 co-ops while they're here. Students are assigned a co-op advisor to help them navigate the process and prepare you to go out on co-op. And importantly, you don't pay tuition while you're on co-op, right? You only pay for the academic semester. The one thing I think that's puts this program ahead of all the rest is that the co-op program really prepares students to enter the job market. About just over 50% of our graduates have received a job offer from a former co-op employer. So I think, having that edge of having like real work experience on your resume is really important, especially in the sciences. We also have a really robust career development program where it can help students and graduates enter the workforce after graduation. The range of possibilities for co-op is quite broad. Our students co-op in places that range from pharmaceutical companies to startups, to hospitals and universities and research organizations around the country, right? They participate in anything from basic science to translational research, studying a wide variety of problems in neuroscience. We also have students go on and co-op in healthcare fields where students can actually work in the clinic and hospitals as nursing assistants. They can support genetic counselors, visit psychiatric patients, work with children that have behavioral or developmental disorders. The list can just really continue to go on. Northeastern classrooms really extend into the community and sometimes to other states and other countries and other continents. This is just a snapshot of the global experiences from our students in the past, which includes their co-op or study abroad opportunities that have occurred in about 21 different countries around the world. So when you come to Northeastern, you are not only going to experience things in the local community, but in the global community as well. And speaking of the local community, there's a really active behavioral neuroscience presence on campus. So collectively, behavioral neuroscience students represent a number of honor societies which recognize high academic achievement. We have our very own chapter of Neurosci, the National Honor Society in Neuroscience. And as the faculty advisor for that honor society, I can tell you it's one of the largest and most active chapters in the country. In addition, a strong component of our program includes student involvement in clubs. And so we have a student club called Neurons, which is specifically for students interested in neuroscience. It's also a great place to hear about what's going on campus in the neuroscience community, meet new friends, share ideas, and learn from each other. So this club actually hasn't been restricted to behavioral neuroscience majors. It's any student that's interested in neuroscience. So you can imagine there's a lot of conversation and collaboration that can go on across disciplines. They hold bi-monthly meetings with guest speakers and alumni panels, and they also host social events, which is really important. We also have a club called Students to Seniors, which is a student-led organization that aims to work with the elderly community in the in the local area, and it provides aid and companionship to those who are often isolated, specifically older seniors who are suffering from dementia. And then just this year, our students felt like we needed more connection. And so they started a new neuroscience book club, which selects a book to read and for discussion once a month. Right, there's certainly opportunities to be active on campus outside of neuroscience. Besides these organizations, students take on leadership roles and gain access to research, travel awards, and are able to give back to the community by working in philanthropic organizations. We have a ton of club sports. So there's a lot of ways to get involved on campus, even if you're thinking about things outside of neuroscience. I think the most common question that I get asked is what can you do with a degree in behavioral neuroscience? And I always say that I think the easier question to answer is what can't you do? So a rigorous behavioral neuroscience will give you a rigorous background in science and a really solid understanding of the brain and behavior. And you can apply these skills that you learn in our program in a plethora of career fields. And this includes things like certainly or health professions and research, but also things like business, criminal justice, education, and law, right? These are just to name a few. In fact, a couple years ago, I had a student apply to architecture school because she wanted to use her knowledge of the brain and how we perceive our visual space to design hospitals to make them more, less anxiety provoking and more calming. Right, so you can apply your behavioral neuroscience degree to a plethora of careers. Our graduates are prepared for higher degree programs. We've had students go on to earn PhDs as well as masters in public health, MBA, nursing, physician assistant programs, dentistry, and medicine. And our graduates are qualified for research positions in both clinical as well as academic and basic science arenas in biotech and pharmaceutical industries as well. So the list of what our students have done and can do with this a degree in behavioral neuroscience is really endless. as we're talking about careers, behavioral neuroscience does have 2+1 programs. So we've, over the last 3 years, we've developed 2+1 programs where students can start earning a master's degree before they graduate. So you can earn a master's in applied behavioral analysis or in bioinformatics, and you start that process before you graduate, and then you do just 1 additional year to finish up your master's program. Typically, these programs would be standalone, would be two years. The +1 in applied behavioral analysis focuses on working with children and adults with autism or other special needs, and it aims to teach students how to assess behavior, design interventions, and develop programs for these individuals. And this program prepares you to become a board-certified behavioral analyst. It's been projected that this area of employment is projected to rise about 19% over the next 5 years. And the bioinformatics program aims to teach students how to develop, evaluate, and employ bioinformatics and computational biology applications. And it's designed to prepare students for employment in the biotechnology sector, which also is projected to have huge market growth over the next 10 years of about 21%. So these 2 programs really, if you're interested in these areas, these are 2 programs which will make you extremely competitive for the job market. Right, so the last thing I'll just say before I turn it over to our students is that, you know, our behavioral neuroscience at Northeastern has a really rigorous academic experience, which I'm sure all of you are looking for. But more than that, we give you the opportunity to do research as an undergrad, to get out into the world and to actually build a resume and use the things that you're learning in the classroom in real life, which to me is the most important part of a college education, right? How do you apply or use the tools that we're giving you in the classroom in a real life setting? So I think these experiences in our major are going to set you apart from other students at other institutions. Neuroscience research is all over the Northeastern's campus. It can be found in co-op, but in almost every college actually we have on campus. There are neuroscientists in the College of Science, in the College of Engineering, and the College of Health Sciences. And we are a really collaborative community and are really excited to have undergraduates work with us. People on campus study everything from how body mechanics work to the understanding of sex differences in the brain and how that controls fear response. And so in addition to that, right, we have really robust advising programs which can help you navigate the university. And we have just a really, I think, supportive and collaborative community here in the neuroscience program. That's certainly one of the things that drew me here. I felt like a lot of the students like to help each other and work together, and that's the real kind of environment I like as an educator. So that's what drew me here, and I hope that's part of what you'll experience when you come here in the fall. All right, so that's all I think I have to say for the formal part. So I'll stop sharing my screen so we can all start to chat. And now I will turn it over to our students. So I think maybe we can just start with introductions. I don't know how people are arranged on every screen, but Sabrina, why don't you start by introducing yourself to the group?
Yes, hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm a 3rd-year behavioral neuroscience, obviously major, and I'm also minoring in physics. I'm originally from Miami, so that's where I came from. I came from Florida. And I'm also part of the honors program, and I am on a pre-medical track. I am currently on my 2nd co-op. My first co-op was last spring, and I did it at Massachusetts General Hospital. And I worked, I had like a wet lab experience working with mice and how Alzheimer's is affected by exercise using these mice models. And now I'm at the Action Lab at Northeastern, which I've been actually volunteering with since my freshman year, since like my first semester of my freshman year. So I'm doing my co-op here, and we look at motor control and behavior in humans. And yeah, my experience at Northeastern has been totally great. After my first year, I did a dialogue of civilizations to Uganda. I was there for a month with 9 other students. And for the future, I plan on pursuing an MD PhD. And I see like now that I'm getting close how the advising program at Northeastern has really supported me and will make this feasible in the very near future.
Also, I would like to add that Sabrina just won the Goldwater Scholarship, which is a very prestigious national scholarship. It's extremely competitive, and so that's a very exciting piece of news that we got this past week. So congratulations to Sabrina.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Congrats, Sabrina. I had to interrupt for that one.
All right, Jason, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jason. I am a 4th year behavioral neuroscience major from New York originally, and I'm graduating next month, which is crazy to think about. I've been here for 4 years. I've done 2 co-ops. Let's see what else. As far as my Northeastern experience goes, I probably talk too highly of the BNS program. It's been amazing. I came here originally a biology and English combined major. And after my first semester, I was taking this, all biology majors take inquiries in biological sciences course, there's like a whole range of things that you can take, from like toxicology to the one that I took, which was the Neuroscience of Aging course. And I was just like blown away. There was just so much more I wanted to learn, so many more follow-up questions, so many different paths you can take the field of study. So I switched like almost instantly. Every single course I've taken at Northeastern, I've loved, especially the BNS courses. Dr. and Jemmy's course was actually, I think, my favorite BNS core, the cell molecular neuroscience course. I'm not just saying that because she's here also. And as far as non-class stuff, I'm involved in one of the, I think, 3 or 4 BNS research labs on campus in Dr. Heather Brenhaus's Neuropsychobiology lab. The aim of our lab is we work with rats, and we see how early life adversity can affect like later life and also adolescent neural, immune health, behavioral health. And with like all animal studies, the aim is to apply this to the human condition. So that's been a really great experience, really essential to my experience in the BNS program also. I've gotten some experience helping to write some papers, and I've gotten a lot of hands-on experience too, which has been great. As far as study abroad, I am part of this club at Northeastern called Global Brigades, which is great for all of you pre-med, pre-health, pre-service people out there. I went to Panama on a medical mission in 2019, and in 2020 went to Honduras. I also did a dialogue of civilizations, which is like a study abroad where it's a faculty-led program from here. You're not just studying at a host university. I went to London studying abnormal psychology and personality. Another great aspect of this program is they do a really good job at making sure you have a really strong biology, chemistry, physics background, but also integrate psychology and be able to kind of think about how we can apply neuroscience both to more fluid theories of psychology like psychoanalysis, which is really great, especially when you integrate philosophy into it like the other combined major. I'm also a part of Neurosci and Neurons, as Dr. and Jemmy introduced. And I think I've talked for enough time now, so I will pass it on.
Thanks, Jason. Tia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Tia. I'm a 3rd year BNS major with a minor in data science, and I'm from the North Shore of Massachusetts. different than my peers, I actually am in the +1 program for bioinformatics. So I'm looking to do more of a computational biology career, which has been really great that that is an option at Northeastern for people like me that didn't really see themselves going into the healthcare profession. My first co-op I did with a BNS faculty, Professor Joseph Ayers, up at our Marine Science Center in Nahant, which is absolutely beautiful. If you ever get the opportunity to go there, definitely go. I was working as part of his electrohydrodynamic jet printing lab, which is looking to long-term create olfaction in his synthetic robot lobsters, which is super crazy. And if you ever get the chance to take his course, I definitely recommend it. Outside of academics, I do club tennis here, which has been really great to find community at the school. There's so many club sports, intramural sports for pretty much any interest you have. I also am in global brigades. I went to Greece last year, which was an amazing experience. I'm in neurosci, and then I also TA for the co-op and professional development class for Michelle, who will end up being your co-op advisor eventually. So that's a little about me.
Great, thanks, Tia. And Fatima, do you want to go last? But certainly not least.
Awesome. So hi everyone, my name is Fatima. I was born in Mexico, raised in LA, and now I'm here. So I'm also a BNS major. I'm currently doing my 5th year, so I'll be graduating this semester as well. I am on a pre-med track, and I'm actually doing 2 gap years before starting medical school. So if anyone's looking into that route and potentially debating whether to do gap years or not, I'm here if you have any questions. So throughout my time at Northeastern, I did 2 co-ops. Both of them were with pharmaceuticals. So the first one was studying Parkinson's disease. And we were essentially looking for like therapeutic targets to treat Parkinson's or slow down the progression of the disease. And for my second co-op, I did Alzheimer's. So it just happened to work out in neurodegeneration, which was great. So the second co-op was similarly, but I was doing more of the histology, so kind of analyzing brain tissue processing, data analysis, all of that. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to also shoot me questions. And I actually have done dialogues and, well, a dialogue to Germany, and I did a study abroad last year, which took place in Dundee, Scotland. That was specific to the BNS major. So that's relatively new. So if you guys have questions about potentially doing that in the future, also feel free to ask. And yeah, about neuroscience, I can talk about so many things, but I think I want to yield my time to questions so that, we can hopefully answer as many as we can. So thanks everyone for joining.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Dr. Njemi, do you think we're ready to switch it over for the questions that are coming in?
Yes, I think so.
Excellent. We have very active questions going on right now, so I'm very excited for you guys. Obviously, you are all well equipped to answer this. So we have quite a few questions that came in about interest in psychology and behavioral neuroscience. Dr. Njemi, can you talk a little bit about what makes up the behavioral neuroscience curriculum and how that relates to psychology?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So the behavioral neuroscience curriculum sort of starts off with a lot of foundational science. So you take courses in basic biology and genetics and chemistry, math, physics. There are also some courses that you have to take in the psychology department. So intro to psychology, you have to do a psych elective, which is, sort of any of these particular set of courses that is offered by the psychology department. And then I think what's most exciting to behavioral neuroscience students is when they get to go and do our BNS core electives, which allow you to explore different areas of neuroscience. And those BNS core courses are housed in either the biology or the psychology departments. And so while I think all classes kind of try to give you sort of a flavor of like what's happening biologically, classes in the psych department are typically more focused on psychological aspects of neuroscience, while the classes in the biology department are really focused on sort of cellular, molecular processes. So you can get a really good mixture of both, or if you're interested in one area more than the other, you really can kind of tailor the program to your particular interest. For students that are interested, so I saw a couple questions in the Q&A about double majoring. Because there's so much overlap actually between the BNS and the psychology programs, we actually don't let you double major or minor in psychology, because I think as a behavioral neuroscience major, you still get that really good psychology foundation.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying that, because I know that's pretty unique to your major, specifically in that interdisciplinary nature. Okay, so let's dive into the topic of competition for our students here. So there were several questions that came in about how competitive is it in behavioral neuroscience, and what is the community like for students? And I also think this leads into how competitive it is for co-ops as well with that. So Sabrina, do you want to start us off with your perspective on this? And then we'll move to someone else.
Yes. So I feel like my high school was very competitive, and that's like not part of my personality. So although obviously for such a like demanding major, there might be a lot of competitiveness going around. I just like chose like not to engage on that. And I have like I've made friends with people in my major that like my freshman year, and they're my friends to this day, and they're great. And I don't feel like that competitiveness aspect of it. And also Northeastern is like such a big school with so many people from different interests. Like my friends are from all the other majors as well, and I'm also like in the Brazilian Student Association. And if you're like from a specific like ethnic background, Northeastern has these clubs where you get to meet people like outside of your class with similar interests that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And so that has been my experience. And in terms of co-op, it's honestly like a pretty independent process. There is like a database, and you like apply and you reach out to like employees yourself. And although, if you like ask your friend, oh, did you get like an interview with this place? Like there might be competitiveness, but it's just like too specific for that to like really come across. At least that has been like my experience. I've never like been competing for like a specific co-op position with a friend or anything like that. And yeah, I also wanted to like answer one of the questions that I saw about like co-op in general. So we do have like a database where you go and choose like with specific co-ops already set, that like MGH, Massachusetts General, has a lot of co-ops for BNS majors. But Northeastern is such a flexible program. If you like know of someone that you're interested with working with, you could also develop your own experience. So it's completely open and flexible to your interests.
Great, thanks for that perspective. Tia, how about you? How quote unquote cutthroat is it in behavioral neuroscience and the College of Science in general?
I would say it is the exact opposite of cutthroat. Every single friend that I've made within the college roots you on through the whole process. I know literally whenever I had a question about anything, every single person I've met in the College of Science has either answered my question or directed me to someone who can. Regarding the co-op process specifically, obviously there is a little bit of competition for some of the more just some of the more, I guess, well-known co-ops, but even throughout that process, it is super independent. I've never felt like on edge, like people are competing against me. I've always felt very supported through the whole process. So I definitely would say that Northeastern fosters a very collaborative environment in general, especially within the College of Science.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, and just to add to it, in the College of Science, we're really, really lucky and fortunate to have more co-op positions than we do students. So that also should reassure many people out there as well, that currently during the time of COVID, we actually have over 700 students currently employed right now on co-op. So we are movers and shakers in that area. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next question to Jason. Can you talk a little bit about how you were able to work with the pre-med and pre-health advising office on campus, and how did you actually get onto the pre-med track?
Yeah, great question. My experience with the pre-med office has been great. My advisor, I love him. His name is Rob. He's the best. He's always been a source of consistency and support through what is I'm not gonna lie, the pre-med path is not easy. It is long, and I'm at the end of it now, applying to med school in May, but then you have med school. So it's really important that when you're on this path, you have a support system and you have people who are kind of like cheering you on. And that's what I've felt with my advisor in particular. So great things to say about the pre-med office. As far as how I got involved in the pre-med path, tons of reasons, but without talking for an hour, the moment for me where I said like medicine is what I'm doing is through my involvement with the club that I mentioned called Global Brigades. Global Brigades is this kind of larger student-led organization, and it's founded in a bunch of college campuses across the nation. And we're not just a medical, like we don't just send medical missions. It's one component. We also have public health missions, water like pipe. We like implement water systems in communities. We have engineering, but it's not going down a tangent because I could talk about Gold Brigades forever. But yeah, I was in Panama, and I fell in love with medicine and the intersection with global health and public health. And then it just only became kind of further concreted by my experiences like living through COVID, as I'm sure a lot of pre-med students are feeling. Med school applications have gone way up. So I think kind of portraying, medicine and just service in general right now is kind of like the next superpower, has really motivated a ton of people. As far as the pre-med sense, the pre-med competition, the pre-med community on campus, I will say I've never felt any competition within BNS classes, like with other BNS students or anything in terms of that nature. The pre-med environment anywhere, there's always some sort of implicit sense of competition. It's just because it's a competitive field, competitive programs that you're vying for. But I've never had any adverse experience with any students here. So it's a great place, great program. I think, Dr. Njemi, I don't know the statistics on this, but probably more than half of our BNS students go into either medicine or some health-related field, right? It's a very common major to do that with. And it also covers all your prereqs. So like you do psych, you do everything. So you don't have to take additional courses.
Yeah, Jason, that's a good point. So our program does cover all of the prerequisites for medical school. With the exception of one, a lot of medical schools like for you to take 2 semesters of physics, so that a second semester of physics you have to take as an elective, but otherwise it covers all of those requirements. I will say a pretty decent chunk of our students go into some kind of health profession, and we've actually had really, I guess, excellent success for our majors getting accepted into medical school. I think our acceptance rate is somewhere in the area of like 84% of students that apply. Oh, 85%. Thank you, Lauren. So so our majors are really well equipped for medical school.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and then we can go back to some of these other topics. Fatima, we have questions that are coming in and you were shouted out specifically too. Can you talk about your international experiences? So you had mentioned going to the UK during your experience for study abroad. There were questions of how can that all fit in with the BNS or behavioral neuroscience, curriculum. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so actually, the way that the study abroad is set up is very specific to BNS majors. So for me, when I found out about it, because like I said, it's relatively new. So when I found out about it, it was during I think it was the end of my third year. And they actually allow you to take 4 classes in total. And for me, all of them counted towards my major. So they allow a lot of flexibility in terms of the type of classes that you take and allowing all of them to count towards something in your major. So that definitely helps a lot in terms of making it fit into your schedule. So even for me, it was relatively later in my time at Northeastern, but it worked out perfectly. So there's something to consider there. They offer a lot of different classes. So if you're interested in a variety of different things, there's a lot of options to choose from, and it will not affect you at all. All of the classes will count towards your major, which made it super easy to make a decision on going.
Great, thanks. And there was a follow-up to that as well. Being from California, do you miss being on the West Coast?
I do. I definitely miss having the nice weather year round, but I think with all the different clubs around campus and just the Northeastern community being so, at least to me, it was very like friendly, especially freshman year. Everyone understands that you're, here coming from all different places around the world, and everyone just has that feeling of trying to make friends and trying to help each other out. So I think just having that community helps kind of make it a new home. So even during my gap years, I'm actually staying in Boston. So I still miss home a lot, but the city is very nice. There's a lot to do around here. There's a lot to get involved with Northeastern or just with the Boston community. So you really start building up your own like new home. So yeah, there's that.
Great, thanks so much. And Sabrina, how about you? Can you discuss your dialogue experience and how you chose to do a dialogue and what that how it impacted your curriculum?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually was not planning on going on dialogue, and I don't know if the honors program is still doing this. So I'm sorry if they're not anymore.
They are, don't worry.
Yeah, okay. So if you are in the honors program, if you go on a dialogue after your first year, then like your fees for the international travel are fully funded. So I basically just pay tuition, which if I were to stay in Boston and take summer classes, it would have been more expensive because then I have to pay for room and board. So I took 2 summer classes, just paying that tuition in a different country, which was amazing. So the classes were on research and one on culture, and those filled my like university requirements, which we call NU Path, that are not necessarily directed to your major. So they filled my requirements. But most importantly, we spent like most of our time volunteering at a school with children with disabilities, and also at like a convent where nuns took care of the elderly and sick. And that experience, just being in a country with a completely different culture and like feeling they were so welcoming, and I just got to like eat different types of food that I never had before. And the sun, it was like my first time like ever being in the cold. And so the sun really hit me, which has never, like I got my first sunburn of my life when I went on this dialogue. And we like went to safaris, we went whitewater rafting. So we had a lot of fun too. And it was because of this experience as well that I turned to a pre-med track, because before I was thinking of just doing research, but having like the hands-on, like Jason mentioned, like being able to help like hands-on the community, it really impacted me. And like I figured out that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So yeah, I think that
wonderful. Yeah, you paint a really nice picture, both of you, about doing some abroad experiences as part of your undergrad experience. Okay, so I think we have a really great question, and I'm going to go to Jason to start this one, and then I'll go over to Tia as well. So pre-med is a really demanding, obviously, track, as we said, and then Tia, I know you're doing a different area in terms of computer science, and in that world, which is also super demanding. How do you guys balance really rigorous curriculums and your mental well-being and wholeness, for a lack of better term? Jason, let's start with you on that one.
I won't lie. I mean, this past year has been hard for all of us, right? I mean, it's become increasingly difficult to get away from your computer, because now you're not really, I mean, some classes you have in person and online components, but I kind of thought about this the other day. It's like my bedroom has now become like my school. Like it's no longer just like a place where you rest, you go to sleep. Like your apartment is also where you do school. So it's become a lot more difficult, and also really important now to be able to set aside time for yourself, because these paths are difficult no matter which one you take. And for me, I feel like the path that I'm on is the one that I'm supposed to be on, and I feel like it might not get easier, but I constantly feel it's rewarding, and I'm really looking forward to the future. So something that I do for myself personally is I like to run. Before COVID, I was running like a half marathon or a full each year, and that really kept me sticking to a training schedule. And I do really well with structure. So you can guess that this past year has been kind of difficult. But yeah, just making sure that you have an outlet, do something, one thing at least for yourself a day. Whatever that means to you. And yeah, don't feel like you're alone. Like your professors are here to help you. They're very understanding people. I've never had a professor here where I'm like feeling like I can't talk to them about something personal, or feeling like, telling them about any problem I'm having. It's a very welcoming community, and you just have to gear it the way that is best for you.
Yeah, make it work for you. That's great. Great point of view. Tia, how about you?
I mean, those are all really great points. Again, obviously this year has been really tough for all of us, but I really think that the faculty in the BNS department have been like really amazing through it all. Any professors that I've had that I've reached out to have been not only understanding in terms of academics, but in terms of like our own well-being, which is really great. And I do really appreciate too, as big as BNS is, I feel like it's a pretty close-knit community, and I do know all of my professors fairly well. I know a lot of my peers very well. In terms of my day-to-day, I like to read, I like to go to the gym. I feel like those are pretty normal things. I think if you have some sort of interest that really helps you de-stress, I promise you there's an opportunity here to get involved in that. And I think just sort of taking some time for yourself every day is really valuable at any point in your life, but especially in the rigorous academic environment at Northeastern. So
Great, thanks so much. Sabrina, I'm going to go back to you because there was a really great question. And I think you will be exceptional at answering this. Do students need to have all this experience in high school doing research in order to start doing research at Northeastern?
Oh yeah, no, not not at all. I had like like just for context, I never done like a science fair because also I grew up a lot in Brazil and like that's just not something you do. I was obviously like part of clubs and I volunteered in high school, but no, I was completely clueless and I just reached out to, the PI at this lab, Professor Sternad, and I was like, "Hi, I saw you talk in my class. I'm very interested. Can we have a conversation?" And I knew like literally zero about anything like that she was studying, but like that's what we're here for. Like we're here to learn, and the professors at Northeastern, they really like being mentors. Like they're here for you, and so if you're interested, just go for it. You don't need to have any experience.
Great. And I think that's so impactful coming from you because the Goldwater Scholarship is actually looking nationally at the next great researchers, and you've been named as one of them. So if you are telling students they do not need to have all this experience, they should definitely listen to you on that one. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Actually, Dr. Njemi, I do want to throw one question over to you. Can you talk a little bit about the NUIN program? Because we have many students who are on here right now who are accepted into that program and how it fits in and how they can keep on track.
Yeah, so I think that the NUIN program doesn't set you back, right? The NUIN program is where you would do your first semester at an abroad location before you come to campus and start on campus in the spring semester. So for the fall semester, you'll be abroad and then you come back to campus in the spring. We work with other partner universities for the NUIN program to make sure that you're taking classes to keep you on the curricular track. So when you come back to campus, you're not behind. I saw a couple questions in the Q&A about, can you still do co-ops? Can you graduate on time? And the answer to all of those questions is yes. Students who go on NUIN come back, they can do 2 co-ops in 4 years, just like every other student. So there's no setback. They apply to medical school, they get jobs after. So I don't think that it really impacts you in sort of an academic sense. You will have a really exciting abroad experience your first semester, which I also think is a really unique pathway. So yeah, so that's the NUIN program.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think we all are jealous of students who get to go abroad first and then have an amazing experience abroad. Okay, so we are down just to the last few minutes, less than 10 minutes here. And I kind of want to go through, I do like a little round robin kind of speed edition. So if we can answer the questions in 30 seconds or less, we can probably get to many of them. Okay. So let's discuss co-op a little bit. So Tia, how about I go to you for this question? Can you talk about what the co-op process looks like and the support that students are given during, especially their first co-op?
Yes, for sure. So actually, every Northeastern student that goes on co-op has to take co-op professional development, which is with your co-op advisor. I actually TA for that class right now. And basically that walks you through the entire process from developing a resume to applying to jobs to interviewing, all the way through thanking your employer and accepting a position. So from start to finish, you'll have support through the entire process.
Excellent, thank you for that. And Fatima, if you don't mind talking, and it doesn't have to be your personal experience, but can you talk a little bit about the pay for co-ops? What is kind of a normal scale that an average behavioral neuroscience student might be looking at?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different opportunities. So like I said, the ones that I chose to do were pharmaceuticals, but you can also do something that's more clinical, or if you want to go a completely different route, you can also do that. And as people were mentioning earlier, I think it could be competitive depending on maybe some of the jobs and how many people they're willing to hire. But I think overall there are a lot of job listings. So I never really had to struggle about feeling that it's maybe too competitive or anything like that. There's a lot of opportunities, especially in neuroscience. So it's really, students really get a lot of different opportunities for them to study different areas of neuroscience.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just to note too, it's important that at Northeastern, you're not only allowed to apply for co-ops in your major. You are open to apply to any co-op at Northeastern. So just like the real world, if you have the experience that employers are looking for, you can absolutely apply to the jobs across campus. All right. So Jason, question for you. How do you think students feel about staying in touch with friends when you guys are on co-op versus in classes?
It's a tricky situation sometimes, right? Because like, especially your first, like your roommates, like my second year, half my apartment was on co-op and half of us were in classes. So our schedules are different, but you can make it work. Sometimes it can be more difficult if people do co-ops elsewhere. So like you might have a roommate who then ends up taking a co-op in California, like that could happen. And you just kind of have to navigate it. But for me, I hadn't experienced really major issues with scheduling, and I've still been able to retain a nice social base here at Northeastern.
Wonderful, thanks. Dr. Njemi, question for you. Can you talk a little bit about the ratio of faculty to students and really how, I mean, you're at the forefront of student-facing interactions. Can you talk about, I guess, what the perspective is from a faculty point of view of how you guys view your relationship with students?
Yeah, so I can tell you that there's a kind of a big range in the behavioral neuroscience program for the number of students to faculty. So there are service courses which can be 100 students or more, and then I think when you get to the more advanced courses, they can be smaller. You know, 2 years ago I had a class that only had 12 students, right? So you can I think really get to know the students in your class really well. And I think that even happens in the larger, the larger lecture sections. I think all the faculty really like, as somebody mentioned earlier, we all really enjoy mentorship. So I think we make the effort to make connections with the students. I feel when I first came to Northeastern, I was kind of afraid of losing that, but I actually feel like I know so many students, even if they've only ever been in a class I've taught that's had, 100 or more in it, that I feel like I can really get to know to everybody. So I feel like even though we have a lot of students, the community still really feels very small.
Excellent, great. Okay, so I am going to do a quick, give all our student panelists an opportunity to answer this in the 30 seconds or less in our last minute or two. What is the best aspect you think about studying neuroscience at Northeastern, and what makes it different than other schools? Sabrina, I'm going to start with you. Sorry.
Honestly, I can't compare it to other schools, but what I love about neuroscience is that you get, because the neuroscience itself, it's an interdisciplinary field, and Northeastern is an interdisciplinary university. So you just get, professors and postdocs in labs from a different ranging of backgrounds, and you just get to learn. Like, even I'm not like a business person, but I have friends who like do business and they love like inviting me to their events. So, I'm also like listening to that, and there's psychology everywhere. So I can like learn and apply things to my major that I also learn in other topics. So that's the most exciting.
Excellent. Tia, how about you?
I would say BNS gives you a small, tight-knit community at a big school. And the best part about being at Northeastern is if you have an interest, you can pursue it. I came from a small town, and being at this big school in a tight-knit community made the adjustment really easy, but also gave me access to unlimited resources as I navigate what I want to do here. So.
Excellent. Great perspective. how about Jason? How about you? What's your perspective on this?
In my opinion, there's no other major, at least in the College of Science, that gives you the amount of opportunity that the BNS major does. You can do anything with this major. It doesn't even have to be STEM related, like Dr. Njemi touched on earlier. The research opportunities at Northeastern are amazing. The PIs of the labs are amazing. Like, you won't ever feel like there is a lack of opportunity. And there's a lot of diversity in this major. There's a ton of diversity. We need more males. So yes, but besides that, I mean, it's really awesome here. So
Excellent. Thanks for that. And then Fatima, how about you?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I really like the different classes that are offered. I think if you're interested in neuroscience, but maybe you don't know which aspect of it you might want to study further in the future, there are a lot of classes that will offer you the opportunity to study different aspects of neuroscience, because we see it as like, you know, there's neuroscience, but there are so many different things that you can study within it, like maybe different disorders or different aspects of it. There's so much that you can do. And I really love that at Northeastern, they have a lot of classes available to students for them to pursue that and be able to really explore different things and figure out which they're interested in the most and which can help them pursue that in their future.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We are going to have to end there. We are out of time for this evening. But I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. You all are doing such incredible work, including you, Dr. Njemi, too. You're doing an amazing job directing the program as well, because obviously the results speak for themselves of our students and alums alike. Okay, so just for some final wrap up, I did enter in Dr. Njemi's email in the chat feature. If you have follow-up questions, I'm sure she or one of her colleagues in the faculty would be happy to answer any of your questions about the program. And likewise, we will be posting by Monday this recorded session as well. So I also put the video on demand link in the chat as well, and I'll be texting folks with that link after. So for all of us this evening, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great discussion. And I want to thank all the audience members as well for taking this time out to learn a little bit more about behavioral neuroscience. So with that, I'm going to say good evening, and we hope to talk with you soon. Have a good night.
Hi, looking forward to see you all in the fall.